All right, so welcome to your week 3 live lecture, Psychology of Play. This is Jonna Bockover. We've just been chatting a little bit, but I went ahead and hit the record button, so this is officially beginning now. I'll go ahead and introduce myself. For those of you who do not have me as your instructor, I've been at Full Sail now almost 3 years. I'm actually one of the newer lecturers. Most staff here have been here for a long time. Long time. That means it's a good company to work for and a good school. So I've been here, like I said, 3 years on campus and online. I personally have been an online student for 7 years in my doctorate program, which is actually coming to an end this month. So I completely understand where you're at. You guys are 2.5 weeks in to your program. I was 7 years online. I know the pain. It was some serious pain last year trying to finish my dissertation. It'll be a doctorate in psychology. I have a master's in psychology right now. Thank you, Kathy and Shara. Yes, it was hard work, but I'm excited to almost be finished. I've also got a photography business. So I'm also a creative, like many of you. I've had that for about 10 years, and I've been a child and family therapist off and on for about 20 years. So yeah, I love this class and the theories and the ideas and the skills that we give you and help you try to understand to be a better you, to increase that productivity and understand your purpose and your why more before you begin your career, before you jump in to the field that you're wanting. So really, Psychology of Play has got a massive amount of information that can be helpful and help you become fruitful in your life all around, business and personal. Shara, no one pronounces your name right. Well, I'm glad I got it right. No one pronounces my name right. It's Jonna, just like John with an A. All right, so what we're going to do today, we're going to talk about motivation, collaboration, and gamification. These are all course concepts in your readings this week. Some things are extra, some things are maybe left out from the reading. Of course, this live lecture is to enhance your knowledge for this week and the readings that you have going on, okay? So again, we're scheduled for 2 hours, but I guarantee you we won't be here for full 2 hours. I try to condense what is important, what is needed, and don't want to waste anyone's time. And I hope that's okay with you all. I'm sure it is. Again, this is an online lecture, but if you want to raise your hand and have a question, you can type it in the chat box. I'm trying to monitor that as much as possible, as I am also watching the slides that I'm presenting. Or you can raise your hand. There's a little icon to do that, and I can unmute you to share or ask a question if you like through audio. Okay? So definitely feel a part. We're all here together today. We want to learn. So the first part is going to be 2 parts. We're going to have a quick little break in between so we don't get too tired. I know we can only sit for so long. Motivation and collaboration is the topics we're going to look at to start with. And then we're going to end with the gamification concept, which a lot of you like. Okay. Jessica says, will any of this be on the brain test? The brain teaser test is probably what you're referring to. Yes, absolutely. Most likely, I'm sure these concepts are going to be covered in there. Honestly, I don't have all the questions memorized on the test because Full Sail shakes it up every month and it keeps it fresh, so I don't monitor all the exact questions and answers. But yes, this material I present to you today is course material. So this isn't just me sharing my personal opinions and stories. Absolutely not. Maybe I'll throw those in, but this is for you. This is the course concepts. If you pay attention today, you could get your entire initial discussion post done today, because what do you need? A couple of course concepts to discuss, right? And you identify, define, and discuss, and then answer the questions. And that's a lot of what we're going to talk about today is the course concepts. So handing it to you on a golden platter. So yes. And again, the brain teasers are open book. So yes, you do have this information. These live lectures are recorded, so you can go back and view the information and see the screen as well if there's like a definition you want to see. But you also have that in your readings as well. So let's just jump right in. I know we had a little moment for questions earlier, but those of you that are listening to the recording probably can't chime in since this is recording. We do have a comment here. It's a little lengthy. Let me read it. Jessica learned that if you go back and look at the slides when you're doing the brain teaser, a lot of the answers are easier to find in the slides than in the readings, unless you have an addiction to highlighting like I do. Yeah. So again, you're all learning your different types of learners and how you remember. So we try to provide a lot of different avenues for different learning styles. So we've got some of it's interactive with the peer responses and posting images, and so it gives you a couple of ways to flaunt your strengths, right? But yes, today we will have some visuals here for you to describe some of these course concepts. So we're going to look at motivation, and this is always a fun topic, I think, because some people have more or less of this, and then it's like, why? What drives that person? What motivates them? What gets them going? You know, so it's kind of an abstract idea, but we're gonna nail down some key terms and points as to what a theorist says is behind motivation. So it's a force or influence that causes someone to do something. And we've got two types that we're looking at here, intrinsic and extrinsic. Okay, so if in meaning internal, you're being motivated by internal reasons. Extrinsic, external. Okay, so you're going to be motivated by things that are in the external world: money, prize, a pat on the back. Okay, so those are the two types of motivation we're looking at. The extrinsic motivation, there's always that carrot being dangled in front of you. You're running and chasing. You got to get that goal. You got to hit that number. Whereas the intrinsic motivation comes from within. Something along the course of your life, you've made these core beliefs and feelings and ideas and perspectives, or maybe it's experiences you've had, or family members or friends that have impressed upon you or inspired you, and that is pushing you to your goal. So these are two different types. Not one is worse than the other or better than the other, but research does show the intrinsic motivation lasts longer. We're human, so we're going to be pushed internally through the things that are our passion and our purpose and our why, rather than just money or fame. So intrinsic, you're doing the activity for the inherent satisfaction or enjoyment of itself, rather than just the external consequence. You're doing the activity, the thing that you get up to do, you're actually doing that for the sake of doing it. That's the intrinsic motivation. So some of you, maybe you enjoy gaming for the sake of gaming itself, not even really for, of course, the rewards, and we'll even look in depth in that in gamification in our part 2 today. But intrinsic motivation, you're doing the activity merely for the satisfaction of the activity itself. And I don't believe this term is in your readings, but it's one of my favorite terms. So I'd love to throw it in here. Autotelic. Has anyone heard of autotelic? It's a type of personality trait that is very independent, but it's fully fueled by intrinsic motivation. So that's why I love this word and this personality trait. You have a purpose in and not apart from itself. So you're less dependent on external rewards. This type of person that is autotelic, you don't need a lot of things to make you happy. You don't need that extra pat on the back or a raise or the prize. You're very independent and autonomous, meaning you make your own choices. You love to have that freedom, and you're able to be fully in the now. You're able to get into that activity, whatever is motivating you, and jump into it, and you're fully immersed. You're not easily distracted when you're doing it. You're able to prioritize and set things aside, and in be engaged in that thing, that task, that activity that you love. You don't need a lot of entertainment. Like I mentioned, you don't need possessions. You don't need the comfort, power, fame. Maybe you're on a trip and things don't go the way you expected. You just roll with the punches. You just keep going because that trip was some other meaning to you. And so it's okay that there's bumps in the road, because you're fully immersed in it and doing it for the sake of the journey itself. So what you do is the reward itself. Does anybody identify with this type of personality? And I'm bringing it up because it is a great example of intrinsic motivation. Great. I love to see that people are relating with this, and not that you have to or you should, but this type of person is driven, and you've got that grit, and that's kind of one of the key elements that we see gets people to their goals and their achievements that they hope to gain. So I encourage you to realize, maybe do a little heart reflection with yourself, and maybe like, why am I really needing this fame or attention from a people group or work or person, and do that little heart reflection, and have the talk with yourself on what are you motivated by, and try to do a little reflection on that. And so let's look at extrinsic motivation just to clarify. That's good to have the contrast and to be fully understand. So Matt says, this is how I feel when I coach. That's awesome, Matt. So yeah, Matt, whatever coaching he does, he's probably not too concerned about if he's getting paid or not getting paid, or how much it is, or even the paradigm of leadership that's there at the organization, or if there's even an organization, or if he's the organization. But he loves to coach. He'll probably continue to do it because he loves it, and that is a good example of an autotelic personality. So yeah, we could talk a lot about that, but again, I want to just kind of stick to your course concepts. But I love. Has anyone seen Casey Neistat? He's a big YouTuber, videographer. I think he has no, I don't think it's tattooed on him, but it's on his, like, one of his laptops that he's had in many of his videos. So he would be almost 110% an autotelic personality type. So if you know of Casey Neistat, I'll spell his name here. If you ever want to check him out on YouTube, he's just got some good insight into being a creative entrepreneur, independent, and he runs his own videography company basically, but he does even more than that. He speaks all over the world about creativity. Okay, so back to extrinsic motivation. This is meaning you're doing something because it leads to a separable outcome or reward. So your behaviors, your actions, what you're doing, what motivates you is due to some reward, which for most of us, it's work, basically, right? So if you're employed by an employer and you're working for them and their goals and what they set out to do, they're selling their products or services, that's what motivates you to go ahead and get that check. Maybe there's a lot of other reasons why you're employed at that place. Maybe you want to learn skills or get the experience. So of course there may be both involved. It doesn't have to always be one or the other, but these are the two types of motivation that people are fueled by. Okay, so just want to make sure you understand. This is also a theory in your readings. Clarissa asks, why do people try to change people that work that way? Work what way, Clarissa? not sure I understand exactly your question. Anybody that's trying to change another person, I would ask them, why are they trying to change them? It's not our job to change anyone unless they're asking for help or we love them and we want to give insight. But ultimately, what we're talking about, this motivation factor, this comes from individuals. This comes from within you. We can't really, and we can definitely inspire people, and people can motivate each other. And we're also going to look at teamwork today here, and how that can increase motivation as well. But changing others is kind of a lost cause, really. I mean, unless you're a therapist or if that's part of the goal. Okay, so let's see. Jessica says, feel like both I do it for my kids and myself and better future, but why is it hard to balance both feelings? What comes more feeling? Your sentence is a little broken up, so I'm not clearly understanding you, so I don't want to answer. But it sounds like you've got some thoughts and feelings going on about your motivation. So I'm glad this is helping you start to reflect and think. And again, these are great concepts. So carry these on, not just today or for the test or for this week. These are great ideas and things to put in your pocket for future reference. So when you do hit the career or you're in the field that you want to get into, or when you are starting a business or going in to be employed for a business, these are some great concepts, not just for today, but for then, for your future. And to ask yourself, what am I being motivated by? Is this just for the money, or is this really what I want to do in my heart? Okay, so, and then a lot of this also comes down to other concepts you're going to learn in this class and creative presentation on your why. And that could be a lifelong question asked, and new answers come as new seasons and new chapters of your life open up. Okay, it's okay, Jessica. You said your keyboard was messing up, but yeah, I mean, it sounds like you're really starting to think about some of these things, and especially if you're a parent. I'm not a parent, but I have been a therapist with kiddos, so I could see it's hard to help people change their motivation, but you can, with positive reinforcement and a lot of different parenting tools, help steer that motivation. Absolutely. As a parent. Yeah, that's a whole nother topic. We're kind of just looking at it for the individual right here today, but great question there. And feel free to reach out to me. If you're not my student, my email is my first letter and last name. So jbockover at fullsail.com. I'll put it in the chat box there. Or reach out to your instructor, and they're always there to help. I've had several students this past 2 weeks find themselves in reflection state, reading those bonus materials and just asking for more information. And that's good. That's an okay place to be. It's good. And Jessica's also saying it feels hard to figure out what you're feeling for more. And that's okay, because we're human, we're complex. And if it sounds like you're at the awareness stage, and the awareness stage is one of the most profound stages, because that means you're learning and you're coming upon some new insight. So I encourage you to talk it out with a trusted person or journal, write down some of these thoughts that you're having, or these feelings. Sometimes we don't know how we feel, but our behaviors are a reflection of what's going on sometimes in us. So I encourage you to keep exploring that. Again, it's a psychology class, so I love to help those along with trying to understand how you're feeling. So thank you for that question, Jessica. All right, so self-determination theory, we'll get back to the slide, is a course concept that you have in your readings. So I like to mention it, but it's what drives you, because we're humans. We seek a cause greater than ourselves. So as Jessica mentioned, you're in that process of realizing what it is that I'm driving towards. And there's 3 elements to this, according to these theorists. So reframing the story around what motivates us from the inside out, not just the outside in, not just that paycheck or even as a parent, trying to change your kids, you're not liking their behavior, wanting, looking at it from the inside out. Or if we reframe this story, this situation, where you're able to identify 3 conditions needed to create action in our lives. So this is kind of the secret behind motivation, okay? Because it's, like I mentioned, it's a bit abstract as to what really motivates and gets us moving, what gets us going. What made you sign up for this class, this school? So these are 3 key elements that need to be looked at to realize the direction of your motivation. So Ryan and DC says autonomy, competence, and relatedness. So autonomy is inner desire to be self-directed, to make our own choices. So he's saying everyone wants that self-direction, to be able to make choices and to grow. And if you don't have that, you're squelching it. So again, Jessica, as a parent, giving children choices, that allows them to realize, oh, okay, I've got control in this situation. And they want that. We all want that at all age. Well, infancy is another stage, but most stages of life, we want autonomy to make your own choices. So a good company like Full Sail, they allow us to make our own schedules for most of the time, unless we have a class on campus. But just providing that autonomy to the faculty really motivates us to be able to have that freedom to live the life we want and also be the best faculty and instructor that we can here at Full Sail. So having that autonomy, we can look at that individually and in a company. Maybe you're running a company or you're an employee. So having that is an important element to increase motivation, okay? And competence is the desire to get better at something for the simple sake of doing it. So naturally, people want to get good at something, whatever it is you like to do, whatever you want to be doing. If you are wanting to, be an animator and create movies or design games, whatever it is that is your desire to get better at, you want that competence. So creating an avenue for you to grow and find that competence, that courage, that confidence will increase your motivation. So set yourself up to have not just the autonomy, but also where you can grow in competence. And lastly, one of the secrets to motivation, relatedness. It's also known as connection because we're humans and we need attachment. We need to belong. We need to, even if we're shy and we say, no, I'm an introvert, I'd rather stay home, we still have that need that's still in there. And it may just look different for some of us. Some extroverted personalities may need to have that constant connection with friends, face to face every day and go out or have a workplace that has a community where you can talk. And some, just need to be quiet and in a corner and to get their work done. So, but yet we all need relatedness, and that will increase your motivation as well. Just to throw in a little personal story, I've been self-employed for 10 years, but I've been at Full Sail for 3. And so I was alone, in an office by myself or at my home office, either or. I've had both for my photography business. And I've had interns, I've had editors, sometimes I outsource, but most of the time I'm alone. And then I've come to Full Sail and I feel like I've really grown just as in my personal strengths as an instructor and in knowledge to be able to collaborate with others. So it really is true. The relatedness is needed, and that can increase your motivation. So remember these three elements and try to position yourself to have the opportunity to make those self-directed choices for autonomy and to get better at something for the sake of doing it because you love it. As I think it was Matt that mentioned he loved coaching. And then relatedness. We need connection with others. Even if, I use the example sometimes if you're a game designer, you're like, oh, I just want to be behind the computer and design. Well, who's going to buy your product? Who are you creating it for? You've got to think of an audience or the consumer or even a boss who's having you, so there's somewhere you got to connect with people eventually. So even though you may not see yourself as such, you still have that need. So take care of yourself and give yourself that space to have that relatedness, and the motivation will start to look different for you, which is pretty exciting. All right, so I got some comments here. That's awesome. I like to hear some of that. Full Sails brought out the best in me and what I want and shows my kids to never give up. Good job, Jessica. Yeah, I mean, different things in life will increase or decrease their motivation, and it's good to realize what's happening, just being aware. So now let's get a little bit, not too personal, but let's look a little more. And we already have. You guys have been great in communicating. But what motivates us to action at work? What is it? What motivates us? What moves us to action? It just motivates. Clarissa said she'll never work in a factory. All right. Paycheck and a Red Bull. All right. So sometimes we do think of those big bonuses and rewards and the incentives, and then we get these employee accomplishments, and that's what keeps us going. Which there's a lot of companies that function like that, but really, when it comes down to it, the concepts we're talking about today is not the best way for long-term just adherence to the job. So the secret to motivation, as we looked at, were autonomy, mastery, and purpose. So it's just a little bit more visual aid. Actually, it was kind of redundant now with the images. So again, task, team, technique. We need that people need autonomy over task, time, team, and technique. So even whatever project is at hand, you still need to make those self-directed choices. And we mentioned the grit within mastery. I should probably just remove those black and white slides up above. Actually, these are redundant, but mastery begins with that flow, and then you're going to learn. I think it was this week or last week. If you're, sometimes I forget some of the concepts that when they're presented to you, but finding that flow and grit within that mastery and that competence, which is similar to this here, is something that is good. It's to help you become better at what matters to you. And then the purpose as well, which it's more than just a self-interest. And this also is, okay, so these are a little different. Relatedness really kind of goes along with purpose because it's not just for you, right? It's for another cause, other people, or something that's greater than yourself. So those elements as well, autonomy, mastery, and purpose, are good elements to remember for increasing your motivation. And really, any of these that I'm mentioning today are great concepts for you to add into your week 3 initial discussion post that's due in 2 days. So think about what motivates you, and you probably have, as we've been chatting now for over 30 minutes on motivation. And sometimes I think, what is my purpose? What gets me motivated? What ignites my passion? So think about those questions as you try to understand what motivates you and your purpose. If you want, you can chat it right in the chat box. If you want to be deliberate about it, like understanding what your purpose is, what gets you motivated, what ignites your passions. All right, so I see family being the change I want to see. Robert wants to make people smile. Jessica wants a better future. And Clarissa is still trying to figure it out, and that is okay. And to be very honest with yourself, we're all at different stages of these questions. We may have new passions or new purposes at different stages of life. So you're just starting into an education journey. So this is really the time where you probably don't have much of it figured out. And that's okay. And that's why we're presenting it to you to think about. Start writing these things down. What drove you to sign up for Full Sail? And maybe even just start there. I encourage you to create an image or a saying or a phrase and have it somewhere. You can see it every day to remind you of your purpose so that motivation doesn't get lost when times get tough. Okay. Any questions on motivation? So we learned about intrinsic, extrinsic, and then a couple of elements, some of the secrets to it, autonomy, mastery, relatedness or purpose. Corey, yes, actually, good question. He says, is that what the poster is all about? We tweak our material a little bit, but yes. So there may be a few details in there that they want you to focus on, but pretty much, that the poster you create this week for your discussion post, we want it to be meaningful to you. We want it to be applicable to you in your life. Don't just create something just to submit something. Make it for beneficial for you, okay? Because you only get out of this class what you put into it, really. So put a little heart and soul in it so you can use it as your motivational tool. All right, so we're going to take a quick break and then we'll go into collaboration. Oh, wait. Do I take a quick break on? Oh, yeah. Okay, let's talk about collaboration, then a quick break. I'm actually going slower than normal. Or I don't know what's normal, really, right? Because then we're going to talk about gamification in part 2. So I'll go ahead and swing through collaboration. And then we'll take a break, okay? So hang in there with me. I won't spend too much time on this, but this is also a course concept. At one point in a time or another, we're all going to be working with someone, right? Even in a relationship, personal, family. But we're going to look at more of teamwork and well, really, it's in general collaboration, but ideally for this purpose in your education, for creating, whatever it is you want in the field that you're going into. I'm reading a private question here. It's a question about the poster, I think, is what you're referring to. Yeah, so you can use so back to the poster that you're creating for this week in your discussion post. Yeah, if it's a quote that that another artist has used or a poet or what, or if another creator has created, that's okay. But you do need to cite the source that you got it from and why you're using it, okay? Because we want it to be meaningful to you. It'd be awesome to have you create it. Something that's that's the intrinsic motivation. It's internally coming from you. But if there's something that inspires you out there, another artist or creator, just make sure you cite it. So you'll be cool. Okay. Thank you for the question. So collaboration when you're working with others, why are we even needing to understand this in the first place? So once we get motivated, once we get up and go, we're going to be working in teams or companies. But it's good to understand team dynamics and conflict and to increase that flow within groups because we are wanting greater productivity. So, what really is a team and why is teamwork so important? Increased productivity, greater creativity, innovation. So, really, this is all kind of going back to relatedness too, and why that's important in motivation. But you can make more money as well as a team, increase financial gains, reduce turnover rate and absenteeism. Um, Having a good team and good communication, you won't have absenteeism, meaning you won't have people, saying, "Hey, boss, I can't come in," and have some lame excuse that's not the truth. So these are good reasons why collaboration is important to understand. But within the collaboration, you will have conflict, disagreements, clashes, clash of personality types, or arguments, or you may not see the same way. Um, so looking at conflict, these are 5 ways to respond to conflict. You can confront, avoid, compromise, collaborate, or accommodate. And we're mentioning all 5, and we'll look at them briefly here. But again, the topic of this moment right now is collaboration for your key course concept. So, collaboration is ultimately the best answer for how to handle conflict. But sometimes in different situations, we may need to use some or the other, right? Um, but just be gentle and careful on how you do this. But ultimately, collaborating is the best way to solve a conflict, not just meeting one person's needs and not the other, but both. Okay? So avoiding gets us nowhere, right? Compromising, that's also another good option, but maybe not bring us to the best solution, right? If you just compromise, you may not actually produce a good product. It's compromise and it's like, so again, that's one option. And confronting. And there's a picture of a shark there. So confrontational sometimes is needed, but it can be shark-like and like you're going to bite someone's head off. So that is not always the best way to have a resolution in the conflict. And accommodating means you are basically just saying okay to everything that person is wanting. Or you're walking on eggshells, you don't want them to blow up, or you're serving them what they want, and you're just accommodating because that's the only way to survive and to get through this situation. And that's not the best way for conflict resolution either. Again, we're kind of looking at these in a professional standpoint, but I know we all have personal relationships that we're like, oh, some of this may come to mind in personal relationships, but let's look at professional relationships. And again, sometimes it's needed, right? In a situation, like if your boss is having you do something, you may need to accommodate at that moment, but ultimately in the conflict, you want to have a collaboration like the good old wise owl. And collaboration really is meeting both needs, as I mentioned. So if you look at this little chart here, on the left it says desire to satisfy my own concerns, and desire to satisfy others' concerns is on the bottom. And if you're the turtle and you're avoiding, that's being uncooperative and unassertive. Versus if you're satisfying their concerns and trying to be cooperative but unassertive, that's that teddy bear, accommodating. If you are very assertive and you're just satisfying your own concerns, your own needs, that's that shark. Fox is, kind of in the middle, but you may not really have much productivity when you compromise. So the area you would like to be for conflict resolution, to keep that team flow going, keep that, that product you're creating. And sometimes I think about movies, how much collaboration that is in action, to make a movie. I just think about all the months and sometimes years and money and talent and skill that goes into that. Whether or not somebody likes each other, but on the set they collaborate. They still continue to work the conflicts out if there's conflicts. And there's a video actually on the Google Doc where the recorded live lecture will be. I have on conflict resolution. So if this entices you, I really like it. It's not too long, but he mentions basically a conflict is a need that's unmet. So some person in the scenario, their need is not met. So if you communicate, ask them what they're needing, or if you express what you're needing, a lot of times that's where the collaboration can happen, because a conflict is an unmet need on one party or the other. So if we can get over the conflicts that generally pop up in group settings or teams or work, we can experience that flow. So communicate, make those solutions, and continue to have that flow. And don't blame or be too general or avoid or attack. So be supportive, be open-minded, suggest new behaviors, and try not to judge. Stephen Kotler has a lot of great information on flow, not just for team flow, but for your brain as well, for individual flow, to find that flow for yourself. So that, just thought I'd mention that. He's kind of a guru on flow. And to remember, failure is okay, because that's how you're going to learn. So keep that in mind, because you're not going to have creativity without failure. There's no group flow without the risk of failure. And so these two common research findings go hand in hand, because group flow is often what produces the most significant innovations. So that's collaboration. So we looked at motivation and intrinsic and extrinsic, a couple of the key points behind motivation, and the importance of conflict resolution, and that collaboration is always a great way for conflict resolution to keep that team flow going. So do you guys have any questions about motivation or collaboration? And then we will take a break. I'm going to go ahead and hit the record button, but I'm going to hang out here for a second. All right, we're back from our quick break, which wasn't as quick as I thought, but we had several questions offline there. But we are going to just jump right into gamification and start our round 2. But this is all one recording, so if you want to go back and watch the live lecture later, this is all one big recording. It's going to be uploaded, so you'll see the link in the live lecture platform area. It'll direct you either to the Google Doc or be embedded, depending on how I upload it. We've been doing several different platforms, from the GoToTraining platform to YouTube, so we'll see what I do. I've been going back and forth. Okay, so let's look at gamification. All right, this is going to be a fun one. Realizing and giving you hope that game is good. Gaming can be good, not just for the game itself, but to help a non-game activity bring in more interaction and get a goal completed that perhaps wouldn't be if otherwise wasn't a game. Okay, so you're applying elements of games to other areas of activity, such as workplace productivity, advertising, marketing. So the goal is to make the activity more fun and engaging. So kind of taking something that's not that fun and make it fun. Oh, okay, Douglas. I like that you said YouTube. You can watch it on your TV if this was on YouTube. But either way, the link will be provided in there, so you can shoot the link to yourself once it's recorded. Okay, so let's look at what elements of game, what does that mean? Let's look at some of these elements. Well, first, what is gamification? Using the elements of gameplay in a non-game context provides incentives for user engagement. It helps them complete some mundane or some real life task that they're not wanting to do, or maybe it's too challenging. So you're using game mechanics in a non-game setting. You're basically reinforcing a desired behavior. It encourages engagement. Okay, so if you think of something you're wanting, I'm sure parents have experienced exploring gamification to try to get some chores done around the house, right? I remember my parents put a bunch of quarters at the bottom of our dirty dish sink. This was before we had a dishwasher, I guess. And so either my brother or I, whoever wanted to do the dishes, we got all the money in the bottom of the sink. So that was a very uh, easy thing for them to do. It kind of so that's gamification. They made a mundane task pretty exciting because as a kid, get a lot of quarters at some dollars. Okay, so let's look at some of the benefits. And we kind of mentioned some: encourages participation, boosts productivity. It can be fun, just the game itself is reward, and most of the time it's effortless. You want to just have them naturally choose to participate. They're learning by engaging the whole brain. Rewards lead to motivation, so that it can increase the motivation and even the mastery that we talked about. That's one of the key elements that's important in motivation. It can be stimulating and challenging. It allows people to make mistakes. There's no scores, there's no leaderboards. Of course, that's what some of the elements of gamification are, but in general, you want them to be drawn to the activity naturally. And it encourages a sense of play and creative thinking. So, where is this used? Really, if we start thinking about it, it's everywhere, isn't it? Even on social media, right? We see sponsored ads and saying if you do this or repost this or that and tag this and here, that's a form of engagement. They're getting us to play their game, and that's for their business and marketing. So, yeah, and education, of course. We try to make some of the things fun or even live lectures for your online students, but personal life, workplace, marketing, business. So if you can think of any other popular examples of gamification, send it in the chat box or raise your hand. But really, when you start thinking about it, it's everywhere. McDonald's Monopoly or punch cards at restaurants or shopping retail places. Your 10th one sub is free, right? Douglas said, did they have a dishwasher? Honestly, I don't even remember. Probably not. Okay, so let's look at the game mechanics. So if you're going to create some sort of game, and like we're talking about some of these gamification ideas on a small level, but start to imagine and think big. There's even been an app created from this class, from this topic. This wasn't my class, but I've heard there is an app actually for sale from a Full Sail class that created, and I don't remember what the app is about. But I was just told the story, and it sounded so fascinating that you can create things to better other things in the world. So think big when we're talking about these mechanics. We're going to break it down into simple elements of what games are, but try to think bigger than just the game itself, because the whole point of gamification is to use a game in a non-game setting, right? So maybe you want to cure pollution, so you can have a point system when people throw away things, or maybe the trash or counties can pay us back if we recycle more, or so think along the lines of changing the world even with your games. Kathy is asking, is it for Full Sail class? The app? No, it was like a legit app that they created that was for sale on the. It wasn't the Apple Store because they said it was for Androids. But anyways, so I'm just mentioning to think bigger than just looking at what we're talking about, games. Like the whole purpose of gamification is to put it in a non-game setting to create uh, more engagement in a situation. Okay, so here's some mechanics that you can use within your your gamification. Top 10 lists, leaderboards, badges, competition, leveling up, having points and challenges between people or teams, virtual currency, having that monetary gain, saying, oh, I've got this X amount of dollars, but it's virtual, progress bars, contests, scavenger hunts, and as well as social media activities, which is a big one in our day and age at this point. And looking at points, badges, and leaderboards, points lead to tracking and being able to track some of the activity and getting that feedback. And badges can show that someone hit a certain goal or received a reward. We even have something here among the faculty that if we see we want to encourage someone, we have a whole system area for staff. We can go and provide them a badge for doing rewarding them, just encouraging them for doing good work. Anyone can give it to anyone, so it's just cool to see. And then you can go and look at other people's profiles and see that the cool things that they've done at Full Sail, and it's an actual badge. Leaderboards, so of course that's going to be bringing along the competitiveness for those that really want to increase the motivation and compete. So why is this really effective? And we're really talking about psychological mechanisms here of the intrinsic motivation. We're trying to get someone to choose to do these tasks, and to set goals and to compete and to engage users. Overall, we're wanting to engage a group of users. And we're talking, again, in any kind of situation, for marketing or business in the store, or even at home, or even in your own life, right? So let's look at a few examples. I'm reading the comments really quickly. Okay, you're free to go if you need to head out, no problem. Yes, so this will probably be, I don't know, maybe another 20, 30 minutes, and then you can watch this on the recorded version, no problem. Have a great day, ma'am. All right, so this picture here is at a retail store, obviously. So cashiers can remove a hanger in 5.2 seconds. Can you do it faster? So what are they really doing? They're giving you something to beat. And they're having the consumers do the work, so the employers don't have to take off all the hangers of every item that comes through the line, right? So it's kind of comical, but that shows you it's gamification right there happening at a store. Okay, so of course, if you're like, oh, well, I can do it quicker in 5 seconds, or, it's not even that big of a deal. It's just a nice way to say, or a fun way to say, can you please remove the hangers? Maybe they're more apt to do it if there's a time to beat. We have Firehouse Subs on our campus here, and they have a punch card. So again, this is another example of gamification. That your 10th medium combo is free. Here's an example of leaderboard. So you're able to track. This one's obviously health related. You see calories, their ranking. Okay, so it's another example. Has anyone ever seen this video? I have the link on the Google Doc right now. The piano stairs. Feel free to go check it out after we're done. But basically, they put music notes under these stairs. So you have an escalator to the right, and you have stairs that make music every time you step on the step, just like a piano. Obviously, I'm not musically inclined, but you have notes, and so you can jump around and make music. So this is the fun theory. So if you make something fun, someone's going to choose to engage in that behavior. So if you're trying to if you have a company or a business or even apparent, making something fun can change people's behaviors. And research showed from this experiment, more people took stairs that day than the escalators. So it worked. Got them to get moving. So companies that incorporate fun, here's a couple of them. Zappos, Google, and Pixar. Zappos is a shoe company online. Google, I think we've all probably heard and seen once somehow along the line since they've been around a while, but they have a lot of fun at their workplace, a relaxed environment. There's even an apartment feel in one of the offices. It's like brick walls, a little kitchenette, and some bean bags, and a chair, a couch, and a coffee table. So it makes you just have that feel like you're in someone's New York apartment. There's slides, there's ladders, free food, bring your pets. So, their philosophy is to create a happy place so they can increase that productivity. They even got Lego PlayStations. You can design your own desk. You can scribble on the walls. Okay, so they really foster the play fun theory, which, it's supposed to be one of the most amazing companies. Very, very productive and successful. Zappos, shoe company. So they have 2 interviews, not just to see if you can do the job, but if you can fit into the culture of fun that they strive for. Having rave parties, fostering the feeling of community. They really want people to have that community feel, and then they're a successful online shoe company. Same with Pixar. They not only see if you have the skill, but they're looking for the quality of person as well. They want to see innovative leaders. That's a big thing right now, is not only can you just do the work, but are you innovative? Do you think outside the box? Do you create new things? It's not just about great ideas either. It's about the team. So they really want to see if you can be working in teams, because they know the value of teams. So just fostering that wacky, free thinking, creative type of personality is what they're looking for. And we all know that Pixar is a very large company, successful for years. So how can you all make daily activities more fun? Think about, celebrate your each week. Celebrate the victories you have. If you got 100 on your weekly plan or discussion, celebrate that. But also maybe giving yourself deadlines, saying, okay, I'll work to this point and then I'm going to watch a movie at this time if I get this much done. So even just rewarding yourself little by little can help keep you motivated and gamify. Try to beat yourself each week, says Kelvin. Chris Hall says, what do we do if the company does not relate to this? Gamification stuff. I added that in. Gamification stuff. That's a tricky thing, because you can't really turn a company a different direction just by you if the depends on the company. Maybe it's new or old and there's other leaders involved. So you can, if it's just you, and I don't know where you are in the company, but you can encourage ways to incorporate that play within a task that's needed to be done. Or if there's I would recommend to you, Chris, that if there's a weakness within the company, or a fault somewhere along the line, or a conflict, or something, you can try to help whoever's involved see that you can look at this situation in a different light by making it a little more fun, bringing in some kind of activity, but still accomplish the goal. It's a tricky one since I have no clue what your company is, but those are just some ideas. Even here at Full Sail, sometimes we have different little challenges between the different departments. We had what they call the Aqua Challenge to encourage us to drink more water. So everyone posted their ounces on a Google Doc every day for a certain amount of time, and our department, social sciences, called ourselves Psychological Water Fair. We were being pretty clever. We didn't win, but I actually personally drink a lot of water, so those were. I don't know if that's everyone. Yeah, it's probably everyone's number of ounces, but mine is I think the second from the top. I drink a lot of water. So yeah, they made it fun by let's see how many ounces you drink and actually write it down. And then there was some really cool prizes given, like I don't know, some Apple products and something cool. I forget, but we didn't win. Okay, so that's gamification. Um, and again, this is a big topic that you could probably continue on in your readings. There's going to be a lot of great examples and ideas, but I encourage you, especially if you are into game design or going along the lines of gaming, to not just see it as entertainment, or because I know it is a big industry, but using it for a greater purpose, greater cause, to help hunger or pollution, or just or helping kids uh, make better decisions in school. Try to think of it along a lot bigger spectrum than just learning. Oh, okay, these are game mechanics and elements. Here's what they are, but really try to incorporate that into your situation, your field. So, any questions on anything we learned today? That actually went quicker than I thought on that part. I should probably do the break before collaboration, but yeah, you got all the concepts, not all the concepts, but a handful of good concepts that are important factors to comprehend, understand. And when you are talking in your initial discussion post that's due Thursday, when you're writing, I should say, not talking, I highly recommend don't just mention it and assume that your instructor knows what you're talking about. Go ahead and define it. I know there's a couple of instructors that are sticklers on that. You will lose points if you don't define the concept. So define it and then discuss it. So it shows us that you have comprehended the meaning of what these concepts are. Okay? For instance, I'm giving you the partial or some of the definitions in this PowerPoint today, right? Okay. So you guys really took in quite a bit today. I appreciate all the activity. We still have about 100% of you here. Good job. So as I mentioned, I don't use up the whole 2 hours because we got in what we need to get in for the day. I'm looking at, we do have a lot of comments in here. I'm going to go ahead and hit the record button, and that'll be it for the live lecture for your week 3. Again, this is John Bachhover. Feel free to reach out to me at j@bachhover at fullsail.com. That's JBOCKOVER at fullsail.com. If you have any questions or reach out to your instructor, we are definitely here to support your success in this course. Thanks again, and you have only one more week left. Next week is your last live lecture and last week of your class. I know my class, I try not to take any late work. So I really stress that upon you. No late work once a class is closed. And the reason for that is because you have a new class starting the following day or week. So you want to stay up on top of it. I'm sure you've realized these classes fly by. So I encourage you to figure out the time management that works for you and stick to it and stay on the ball, because it only goes quicker and busier and more intense from here on out. So I wish you all the best. Reach out to me, your instructor. We're here to support you. That's what we're here for, okay? Thank you again. I'm going to hit the record button, but I'm going to hang out for a little while and chat with you all further with any questions.